The artist you're about to meet is so hot. Well, I won't even get into how hot, but he's hot. And Kyle Buckland, what are you going to do today?
Today I'm going to teach you how to break color. And
What's
that's
that
really
mean?
going to it's going to make your painting sparkle with light.
All right, that's what I want to hear. All right, hang on, everybody. We're going to get to this with our guest, Kyle Buckland. Let's get this show on the road. All right?
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhodes. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhodes.
Our guest today is Kyle Buckland, and he's hot. He's winning all the awards. He's one of the great new plein air artists. I say new. I mean, he's been around for a long time, but he's really getting noticed lately. And you're going to learn a lot about breaking color, whatever that means. And you can see some of his work. It's just really energetic and beautiful. And you're going to learn a little bit about how he does this work and find out how to even get more detail on how he does it. Today, we've got a prize for viewers. If you're watching and you put your name and where you're from in the comment section and we pick you, well, you're going to get a Plein Air magazine apron. This is a good apron. I personally had a lot to do with putting this together because I wanted something that was sturdy. I hated aprons that you couldn't adjust the neck. And also it has deep, deep pockets, which I really needed. So that's going to be the prize today. We have a gift for you today. It's called 240 plein air painting tips. I know that seems like a lot of tips, but we went to a lot of artists to get it for you. And you can get that for free at pleinairlive.com/240tips. pleinairlive.com/240tips. Of course, if you're watching this for the first time or you haven't subscribed, if you follow on YouTube at Streamline Art Video, hit the subscribe button and also the little bell. That'll notify you. And then if you would follow on Instagram or Facebook, that would be pretty cool, at Eric Rhodes. Rhodes, everybody spells it wrong. That's okay. The winner from yesterday's announcement, or the prize, I guess I should say, of the value specs that help you see your values and train your eyes. It's TJ Pruitt in Nashville, Tennessee, who's going to be walking around with these red glasses on and is going to be getting everybody super excited. Now let's get, what does it mean to break color?
It's basically a process of using different temperatures of color that are around the same value in the same area in our painting. And what it does is it creates color vibration, which is really the secret to depicting light and atmosphere. All the Impressionists knew this, and it's something that we can utilize in our paintings today to really create a dynamic effect.
I got to stop you right there, Kyle, because there are a lot of newbies watching. And when you talk about temperature, what do? Stick a thermometer in the paint tube?
Yeah, well, let's look at that. So we've got, warm temperature colors are things that we associate with actually the warm temperature, like the sun. So we're looking at yellows, oranges, and reds. But when we think of a cooler temperature color, we can think of cool things like snow and the ocean and ice. So we're looking at blues and greens and certain colors that kind of give us that chill. And how we can use these colors together. So
outstanding. So why don't you go ahead and sit up, and I'll just talk about you for a second.
Okay.
Let's
go
ahead and play that promo.
Hi, I'm Kyle Buckland, and welcome to my workshop. In this workshop, we will be looking at some concrete ways to improve your color mixing and also ways to create instantaneous color harmony throughout your painting. What's unique about my workshop is that I take the time to break down some very complicated subject matter into some very easy to understand, straightforward concepts. I like to think of these concepts as ways that we can approach painting and color and design and composition in a very straightforward manner without getting too bogged down by all the details. We'll also be looking at how to create different types of moods or emotions in our painting by using different color combinations and how color can affect an emotional response from the viewer in our work. My fearless approach consists of learning about some concepts and becoming really comfortable with them before implementing them into our painting. I think the concept of overcoming fear through knowledge is really important, and this extends into painting. If you're someone who struggles with mixing colors and feels a little unsure about how to mix the right colors to get the colors that you really want, I think this workshop would be perfect for you, because we really take some time to dive into how to mix different colors, how to augment colors and neutralize colors, and how to use colors side by side to really exemplify the beauty of each individual color. So if you enjoy mixing color and you love using bold and colorful colors in your work, but want to learn a little bit more about how to control them and really how to use them to the best advantage in your paintings, then join me in this workshop where we'll learn how to really use those colors in a bold and confident way.
Well, the workshop is a new video. And Kyle, congratulations. This is the new release of your video, and that's pretty exciting for you. And we love having you here. The new video is called Courageous Color, and it's a brand new release that you should be getting an email about. Christina will put something in the comments about where to get this new video, but it's just now coming out and you can still get it. And so make sure that you do that. Again, if you're just tuning in, our guest today is Kyle Buckland, and you can see a little bit about how he painted this today. Kyle, you ready to do this?
All right, yeah, let's jump right in. I'm super excited.
All right.
So what I'm going to do here is, I want to talk a little bit about flat color versus broken color. A lot of times when we first start painting, and to do this, I'm just going to sketch out two separate little formats here. We're going to do two little quick demos. So when we first start painting, a lot of times we're taught to look for color and value, but we might not see temperature differences. And so, you know, one of the biggest things with painting is value. So we always hear how dark or how light is it? And that's what I mean when I say value. So we might look at a sky and we might say, well, the sky gets a little darker as it gets higher up in the sky. And as it comes down towards the horizon, it gets a little bit lighter. So let's just sketch in a little landscape here. Let's say we have a little mountain and a field, and then the majority of this this block here is going to be sky. So when we look at a sky, this is going to be the example of using flat color. This is how a lot of beginners might go about painting a sky. I wanted to do both side by side so that we can really see what happens when we learn how to break color and start using broken color. So I'm mixing ultramarine and ultramarine blue and white here. And I'm just going to start with this nice light blue right around the horizon here. And just going to kind of brush it in, but I'm going to almost like I was painting a wall. So this is more like flat color. If we think about how a house painter paints a wall, they don't use too many broken brush strokes. In fact, the goal is to kind of blend the brush strokes together. So this is what I'm talking about, flat color. And as I go up, I'm going to add more ultramarine blue. What this is going to do is darken the value. So I am darkening the value, but what I'm not doing is changing the color or really changing the temperature much. So we're shifting value, but we're keeping the same temperature and the same color. We're going to do this all the way up towards the top, and I'm just going to keep adding more and more ultramarine blue as we go to my mixture. So not a lot of colors, just ultramarine blue and white. You know, and I know why beginners do this. They look up at the sky and they see that the sky is blue, you know, on a blue sky day. And our mind just tells us, well, you know, we just need to use that blue color and put it up there. But in actuality, that's not exactly what's going on. And we'll see that when we go over to the broken color demonstration. So you can see here, we have a nice grade. You know, there's a variety of values. We shifted the value from a light blue to a darker blue. And now for the little bit of landscape down here, I'm really just going to kind of put in a little suggestion of a blue mountain here. I live in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, and just really beautiful country around here. So we always have these beautiful mountains that kind of pop up in the background. That's ultramarine blue too. So I'm not shifting the blue. Now I'm going to add a little bit of yellow ochre and white. and create sort of a light green. I'm going to add just a little bit of my ultramarine blue, so just a tone. But again, I don't want much variation for this part of the demonstration. I'm just going to keep this flat. So all these tones are very flat. There's not a lot of variation in color in each area. You know, we've got a set of values. We've got the value of the field, the value of the mountain, and the sky. So, you know, that might be a way that a lot of beginners would approach painting this scene. But now let's look at what happens. I want to spend a little bit more time over here to talk to you a little bit about what broken color is and how we can use it in our paintings, because this is something that, you know, we can not only just use this in the sky, but you could really use these concepts in any area of your painting to create a feeling of color vibration. So let's go ahead and sketch in a very similar scene here. We'll just draw a little mountain here. Now, instead of coming straight in with blue, what I want to do this time is start laying in some warm tones first. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but wait a minute, if the sky is blue, why in the world would I lay in some warm tones? Well, if we look at the Impressionist paintings like Claude Monet and Camille Pissarro, we start to look at their skies. Very seldom are they just blue. Even on a clear blue sky day, there's usually some warmth in them, and that's because sunlight is warm. So we have to acknowledge that, you know, there's going to be some warmth in our sky. So what I'm doing here is I'm grabbing cadmium yellow light and titanium white, and I'm just mixing up a really nice light yellow, almost a buttery color. And my white paint is really easy to mix into. There's actually a little technique, and I talk about it in the Courageous Color video, for making your paint much more pliable, and it makes color mixing a lot easier. So that's one of the bonus tips actually in the Courageous Color. So you can check that out on there to learn more about that. But this paint is just really nice and creamy. So this paint's going on real smooth. Now we're going to start with yellow down near the horizon. Generally, as the blue sky shifts up towards the zenith, you're going to see a shift more towards a red. So to do that, we're going to introduce just a little bit of cadmium red light into our mixture here. So I'm going right back into that yellow, but now I've added a little bit of cadmium red light. So it's actually shifting the temperature is getting a little cooler, because red is just slightly cooler than yellow, but it's also shifting the value just slightly. And we can see that a little bit more if we add just a little bit more cadmium red to our mixture. So now we're starting to get a darker value, and we're also shifting temperature. And, you know, I know this doesn't look like a blue sky at this point. It's starting to look like a sunset or a sunrise, but that's okay, because this is just the first layer. We're going to do some...
Not all skies have to be blue.
No, not at all. No. And certainly, you know, on a cloudy day, this same principle could apply, because generally what we're seeing on a cloudy day is we're seeing the bottom of the clouds, which have these nice cool blue tones or purple tones, but on the top of the clouds, they're getting hit by the sun. So there's generally a warmth underneath the clouds. So this could be applied to a cloudy sky or a blue sky day. And in fact, it can also be applied to water too. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later once I start adding these cooler tones. So now if we took a black and white photograph of this, these two would look very similar, because we've got a similar shift in value. So we're aware that we're shifting the value of this from light to a little bit darker as we come up. Now, before I start adding cooler colors to the sky, I want to come in, and instead of adding just a straight up blue for my mountain, I'm going to come in with a nice, this is Permanent Matter Deep. And all these colors are the same colors that I generally use no matter what I'm painting. And this is the same palette that I talk a lot about in the Courageous Color video. So if you're interested in learning more about these colors and how to use them, definitely be sure to check that out. I go into quite a bit of detail about these few colors. I like a limited palette. So we're going to go in. This is Permanent Matter Deep, and mixed with a little bit of ultramarine blue. And it makes a real nice purple. And now for the grass, I'm going to actually lay in a little cadmium yellow light and a little cadmium red light, and I'm going to mix that with white so I get this nice light value. And I'm going to lay in this kind of a orange tone down here. Okay, so now looks like we have two completely different types of days here. You often see painters will paint warm tones in their underpainting. This is because it's easier to cool a warm tone than it is to warm a cool color. So I'll say that again. It's easier to cool a warm tone than it is to warm a cool tone. So if you're going to have an area that has warms and cools interacting, it's a lot easier to put your warms down first. And that's why a lot of painters will paint with a warm underpainting. So, we're looking at how dark and how light are the areas, but we're generally laying in a lot of these tones with warmer colors. And so remember that we talked about the temperature. The warmer colors are the yellows, the reds, and the oranges. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come back into the sky, and I'm going to come back in. I've cleaned my brush off real good. You can use a different brush when you switch to the cools, or if you're just using one brush, just make sure you clean it real well. I'm going to come back in, and I'm going to start adding cool tones to this sky. Now, before I do this, I want to do some thinking because the cool tones have to be a very similar value as the warm tones. So what I mean is it can't be darker or lighter, because if it's too dark, it'll stand out. And if it's too light, it just won't look right. So what we're aiming for is a cooler color, but a very similar value. So to get this nice cool blue, I'm actually using a touch of phthalo blue and a little bit of cadmium yellow light. And this is going to give us a nice kind of a bluish green tone. Now I'm adding my softened titanium white here till I get just the right value that I'm looking for. That's really close. So you can test these values out and put them on there until you get them right. Now, here comes the trick. Remember how on this demonstration here, I was painting like a house painter. I said very flat. What we want to avoid now is doing that. We want to try to, and this is where the term broken color comes into play. We want different areas of temperature to exist in the same kind of section of our painting. So we want some cool tones and some warm tones to show through. So I'm not going to come back and completely cover up all of the warm. I'm going to let some of that warm kind of mingle and stick around just a little bit. And so you have to be a little decisive when you're doing this. You have to kind of figure out what tone do you want, and then, what value do you need, and then you kind of put it down and leave it alone. So see, that's a little dark, so I'm actually going to lighten that a little bit.
I think that's a good lesson. Do a test shot before you get fully committed.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And then I can come back and adjust that, and I can kind of see, because sometimes it's hard to tell, because things are going to look a little different on the palette than they might look on the actual canvas. So sometimes it's good just to test just a little bit, and that way you can kind of see, am I on the right track? Am I getting closer to what I want? And you can already start to see what's happening. We're getting a really nice effect here of light and atmosphere in this sky. So we're getting some blue tones, but they're not a flat, dull blue like we have over here. So I'm just adding a little bit more phthalo and a little bit more ultramarine blue to my same mixture. So that's another thing I talk in length about in the Courageous Color video. I'll just mention it just briefly here, is that we don't want to just mix a new color every time. So there are going to be times when we can use colors that are already on the palette, and so that's a great thing to think about. So here I'm just augmenting the color. I'm just adding a little bit of phthalo blue and ultramarine blue to it. And notice how I'm leaving some of this warm and then kind of working back down into it. That's allowing some of this paint to kind of get pushed out of my brush, so that by the time I get back down here, there's not as much paint, and it kind of mixes nicely with that tone that's down there.
That's a yummy sky.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one of, there's some great painters. I'm a big fan of the Cape Ann artists and painters like Emil Groupie. You look at some of his skies, and they just are just so full of light. And
Kyle,
yes.
I'm going to make you really jealous. So this summer, I went over to Vermont to look for a place for a future event, and the person who was with me said, "Oh, do you know that Emil Groupie's daughter lives in that house right there?" I said, "No, let's stop." And so we went and knocked on the door, met his daughter.
Oh, how
She takes
cool.
us out to the barn, which is a gallery, and it's
Uh-huh.
filled with Emil Groupie paintings, and it's also filled with her grandfather's paintings.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
Charles. Yeah.
guess what happened?
What's that?
I bought one and took it
Uh,
home.
I heard that happens when you go see those groupie paintings. I think that's kind of a pattern that people fall into when they, even when Groupie was alive, they say you couldn't hardly get out of his studio
Yeah.
without
Well,
buying a painting.
there's not very many of them left to be able to buy.
Yeah. Well, that's a very lucky find. And I'll tell you, there's just a wealth of information in those paintings. I mean, every painting is like a lesson in itself. So.
That's why I bought it.
All right, so we're getting up towards the top of the sky, and all I'm doing is I'm just adding a little bit more ultramarine blue as I come up to the top here. And we can even kick it just one more step here and kind of get it just a little darker near the top. Bless you. Okay, so now we can instantly see the difference between the two skies. I mean, we have a variation in value in both of them, but this one on the right is so much more full of color. Now let's do the same thing on the mountain range. So I'm going to take the ultramarine blue, same color that I used basically in the mountain range for the first demonstration, but I'm going to put it over top of the warm tone now. And
Right.
to do this, we want to have enough medium in our brush. So this is a kind of a mixture that I use it helps facilitate color mixing. And again, I go into a lot of detail about that too in the Courageous Color video. We don't have a lot of time today, but there's a lot of information in that video about some of the techniques that I'm using today. So we're putting this blue on, but again, I'm not covering up the purple completely. I'm letting some of that purple show through in places. And
I'm
you can
going
see
to just mention something to the people who are in the comments. First off,
Sure.
today in the comments, you can win a Plein Air magazine apron, but tell us where you're from. Secondly, I'd like a commitment. I'd like everybody to try this today, if you can, tonight, after work, whenever. Try this broken color technique, and then get into the comments right now and commit to it. Let me see you're going to do it, because Kyle's goal here is to change lives.
Yes, that would be awesome. And I think this is a life-changing exercise. When you really comprehend how breaking these temperatures up and using them in your paintings can really create a sense of light, it's a game changer for your paintings. I think we're always looking for those types of lessons, that really, when we have those aha moments, and this is one of them. So I'm
Now,
going
if
to
you
add.
go out in the field when you're plein air painting, do you go through the process the same way, or do you pre-tone your canvases?
No, I pretty much go through the process the same way. I like the wet into wet. I like how some of the warm tones kind of mingle with the tones that I'm putting over top of them, with the cooler tones. So I generally will paint onto a white canvas. Sometimes I'll tone my canvas a light gray, believe it or not, sometimes I'll use a warm tone. But I really, my kind of go-to is just to go right into the white and then use these types of broken color and laying in the warms and letting the warms and cools kind of bring out the color harmony in the piece. That's kind of my favorite approach, I think.
One of my favorite paintings is Edgar Payne did this broken color technique all the time in his skies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful. And he had it down to, oh gosh, just an infinite variations of temperature in those skies. And you see how he laid those brush strokes next to each other. And it just felt more real than real. And I've always loved that about Impressionism. Ever since I was a little kid, I would go stand in front of those Monet paintings and think, wow, this is, almost more real than real life. And it was almost like a magic trick. I couldn't figure out, it didn't make sense. How could something feel more real than reality? But I think that's what it was. It was that they knew how to use pigments in a way that really made them kind of mirror the way that light worked in the landscape.
And we have someone just tuned in from France, Francois. Hello, Francois.
Awesome.
Bonjour.
Yeah, bonjour. Yeah, so this is so when the Impressionists came along and introduced broken color to the art world, it really changed not only how painters paint it, but I think how people were able to see the landscape. And that's another great benefit of implementing these types of techniques in your painting, is it'll also enrich your experience, because then the next time you go out and it's a beautiful day and you're, just driving down a country road or something, you might look over and see a mountain, and all of a sudden you start to see those variations of warm and cool tones. So it can enrich your experience. I always say by learning to paint better, we're learning to live better, because we can always just we can take the knowledge that we're getting from our paintings and use it to enrich our experience.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're kind of coming down. That was, I spent a short time. I didn't want to spend too much time, because I think sometimes we can understand a little bit more when we break up these concepts into little sections. And I think just by showing you here. Now, one thing I want to say is that doesn't mean that you always have to use broken color. There might be an area in your painting where you want to use some flat color. So knowing the difference, I think, is helpful. I never want to tell people you have to do it this way and always do it that way. There's going to be times where there might be an area in your painting. For example, let's say you have some creek rocks on the bank of a creek. Maybe the creek rocks are kind of a duller gray tone, and you want those areas to be flat to bring out the more broken color in the water in the creek. So just be aware that this is a great way to create light and atmosphere in your painting, but it's not the only way. There are going to be times where you might also want to contrast a little bit of broken color with some more areas of flat color in the landscape.
All right, come back on camera so everybody can see you. People who tuned in that weren't there at the beginning. Outstanding. I wish you'd have worn the hat on the video. I like the hat. Yeah,
yeah.
You don't have any paint on you, do you?
No, not at all.
So Kyle, it's Red Letter Day because we're just releasing your new video. Everybody can find out about it. It's called Courageous Color. It goes through all of the techniques that you've spent your lifetime learning, and including your medium, your broken color, and so many other things. You can get it, of course, on DVD, or you can get it on streaming video, so you can watch it instantly. Christina has posted, or will once again post in the comments, where to get it. But we're pretty excited about it because it's a brand new release. It's actually coming up Saturday. But I think we'll go ahead and give you a pre-release, I don't know, price or something in the link. So we'll make sure that everybody gets a chance to do that. It's a Red Letter Day. Congratulations on your new video. It's pretty exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an honor to be able to share this information with so many people. It's it's part of my passion, not only to create art, but also to share with others so that they can find the same joy that I find when I'm creating.
That's why we do it. It is, this all started out because I was trying to learn to paint, and I bought some videos from Lilidol very early on. And I was thinking about you. Wouldn't it have been nice if we could have watched Sargent paint? But then the other thing about videos, I never liked videos alone. I wanted to get into the head of the artist. And so, we do an interview with you, we get into your head, we talk to you, we find out what makes you tick and why you do what you do. And those are the things that I think add dimension to it, fill it out, make it a little bit more exciting. And of course, our pro team of videographers are they're on it, they're getting all the details, and they're on time. I know you had a good time with them. I'm sorry I wasn't here when that happened.
Yeah, well, we had a wonderful time. Enjoyed it. What a great professional team you have there. Great.
Yeah, well, we hired right. We got guys I say guys, but our team is guys and women, and we have people who have been in the Hollywood film industry, have done major motion pictures, done national television shows, have done national television commercials. I mean, they're really high end. And so, they made me invest in all this super expensive high end camera equipment, which was hard to do, quite frankly, but it really makes a difference. You really get that good crisp. And so people will see that on your video, which is going to be pretty cool. So again, Kyle's new video is coming out technically on Saturday, but we'll put a link in there for you so you can get a special discount. Kyle, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It's an honor to be here, and it's just so much fun to be able to show everybody what I'm up to.
Well, you're really good at it, and we're very excited. And congrats, by the way. Your career seems to be going really well. Everybody's talking about you and wanting you at their events, and you're hot, hot, hot right now.
Yeah, it's it's just it's a passion of mine, and I always say it's the first thing I think of when I wake up, one of the last things I think of when I go to sleep, and to be able to do it for a living and to have such a warm response from everybody is just fills me up with joy, and I'm very grateful to be able to do it because I feel like it's my calling.
Well, and you're a humble guy, which that never hurts too. And everybody
Well,
likes to see
well,
a nice
thank you.
guy win. Okay, well,
Well,
thank
thank
you,
you.
Kyle.
Yeah, thank
Appreciate it.
you, and I look forward to seeing you at the plein air convention in Santa Fe. So if I
Oh,
don't
we
see you
should
before
talk
then,
about
so
that.
yeah,
We
I'm going to
should
be.
talk about it. I didn't even think to talk about it.
That's
So
okay.
you're going to be involved,
Yeah,
obviously.
well, yeah, I'm be a field artist there, so I'll be going around doing demos and working with folks, kind of during the event. So.
So for people who don't know, our field painters, first off, we have faculty. We'll probably have 80 or more faculty members. We have 5 stages, and one is devoted to whatever's hot at the moment, usually oil painting. One's devoted to watercolor painting, another to pastel, and then there's other stages for other things. And sometimes we have talks, we have demonstrations, we have all kinds of different things, and then we all go out and we paint together every day, all of us together. And it's really a lot of fun to be in a single place with 1,000 of us painting together. It's really cool. And then the field painter faculty people like Kyle, they actually walk around. They have a flag and a red hat or a green hat or whatever color we decide to use that particular year. And then you can you have a little card, you can flag them down that says, help me, help me. And, they'll come over and say, okay, what are you struggling with? And they'll say, well, I'm having trouble with this or that, or I don't understand how to do this. And so Kyle and others will be going around and giving you personal instruction. He'll also he'll set up and paint. You get to watch him paint. So it's really a lot of fun. Have you been yet?
I haven't. I'm super excited. So
Oh,
yeah,
good. Well, you're going to have a blast. That's coming up
yeah.
in May.
I've heard so
And
many wonderful things about it. I can't wait to get out there.
yeah. Okay. Well, Kyle, thank you so much. We appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank
And
you.
we'll see you on the other side.
All right, sounds
All
great.
right.
Thanks, Eric.
Take care. God bless. All right. So that's Kyle Buckland, and he's got a brand new video out today, or this weekend, I should say. But you can get it. The comments, we have all the information on it, Courageous Color, and that's going to be awesome. He was referring to the plein air convention, which is taking place in Santa Fe in May, the 17th through the 20th. And there is a beginner's day the day before the convention. And there's also a Kevin McPherson workshop, which is going to be like sold out before you know it. As a matter of fact, the convention might be sold out because everybody's like, I got to get somewhere. I got to go somewhere in person. So anyway, make sure you check that out. Also, watch for Sunday Coffee every Sunday morning. Sometimes one Thanksgiving, I did a special Thanksgiving edition. I haven't thought about whether or not I'm industrious enough to do that. But if you are not a subscriber, check it out. It's my weekly blog, Sunday Coffee with Eric, and you can subscribe at coffeewitheric.com. Speaking of subscribing, you can subscribe here on YouTube at Streamline Art Video. And of course, you can go to Instagram and Facebook and hit the follow button or follow me. And I'll try to follow you back too. That'd be really cool. It's a nice way to communicate with each other. So thank you guys for being here today. This is Art School Live from Streamline. We do all kinds of things. We do magazines like Fine Art Connoisseur Plein Air. We do conferences like the FACE Conference, Figurative Art Convention and Expo, and the PACE Conference, Plein Air Convention and Expo. We do Watercolor Live, which is coming up in January. We have Plein Air Live coming up in March, April. I'll have to figure that out. And then we have Pastel Live coming up in August. And we just completed last week Realism Live. And so lots of stuff going on. Plus, we do painters retreats. We do it all. We like to have fun. We like to get together and be part of our tribe, get us all together. So anyway, we love having you guys here. We're here some days, not every day at 12 noon, but if you hit the notification button when you subscribe, that'll help if you're on YouTube. And we're also asking you to subscribe on YouTube because we're up to like 70,000 or so, maybe 75,000 subscribers on YouTube. We want to drive that number up to 100,000 because then I'll get a plaque I can hang behind me on the wall. It's a YouTube plaque. It has no other meaning than that, but it's kind of fun. It'd be kind of cool. So tell your friends. And then also subscribe, of course, on Instagram and Facebook, because we drive those numbers up. We can reach more people. People have told us, I mean, we've had people, we started this during COVID. A week or so into COVID, I was like, I was pacing the floors. I thought, I was scared. I think we were all scared. And I thought, what could I do to help my friends get through this? And through this meant 2 weeks, right? So I came up with this idea of doing this daily broadcast. We did it every day. I was going to quit after 2 weeks because it got to be, it's a lot to do this. And everybody's like, don't quit yet. Stick it out till the pandemic's over. And so here we are, we're still here. So we're doing it less, but we did it every day, 7 days a week for 7 months. And then we went to 5 days a week for the rest of the year. Took a little break because I had a death in the family, and then we came back. So anyway, we're back. We're trying to be here consistently and trying to be here for you. And, we need to keep ourselves distracted. We are so bound up and feeling these unusually strange feelings because, we're watching the news all the time and it just isn't going the way we want it. And so, we love art. Let's focus on our art. Let's stay involved in art. Let's not get consumed by all that other stuff. So this is an excuse, right? It's an excuse to pay attention to art, spend a little time with art every day. We always put the replays on. So if I'm not here in person that day, there's still a replay. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. This is a production of Streamline. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.